Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the third and last session of today's Environmental Physiotherapy Education Around the World sort of open agenda meeting and EPT agenda meeting and seminar. This is happening in the context of the EPT agenda. It's the second EPT agenda meeting of this year. We have these kind of on a quarterly basis. There's two people coming in. Maybe this is your students. We have these meetings quarterly to talk about different kind of concerns and ideas and considerations around environmental physiotherapy education, and in particular, still how we go about introducing some of these topics, around environment, sustainability, plan for health, etc., into our respective curricula in our different locations, contexts, universities and schools and so on. And so this is very much also what today's meeting is about. It's really about hearing from people from different regions that work in different contexts. Hello, welcome. We're finishing off with a session where we'll hear a little bit from schools and universities from Ghana, from Portugal, from France, and from Oman. And we'll have 10-minute 10-minute presentations each, and then have a little bit of time to discuss also, potentially also a little bit in between. So with that, I'll just give the word to the first person. We'll start with Cosmos Yarfi from the University of Health and Allied Sciences in Ghana. Cosmos, all yours. Feel free to share your PowerPoint.
All right. Thank you, Philip. Then, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everyone. Yeah, so I'm from the University of Health and Allied Sciences, and I have a colleague here, Adjoa. She's also here with me. Then we want to look at strategies that we are using to integrate environmental physiotherapy into our physiotherapy training at our university. Okay, so this is the outline of our presentation. So we'll look at our university at a glance. It's a young university, and we will look at physiotherapy education. And we will also look at some environmental issues in Ghana that we are grabbing with that also fall under environmental physiotherapy. Then we'll look at some selected topics for physiotherapy education. Then we will look at the strategies and then the plans that we intend to use in order to address these environmental issues that fall under environmental physiotherapy. Then there will be the conclusion. Yeah, so this is a campus tour of our university. So the University of Health and Allied Sciences. So we are located in Ho, which is a town in Ghana. Yeah, so when you look at our campus, so you realize that it's a new university. So you see a lot of landscaping which is going on. You see some greens, and then these are some of the structures that you find there. So looking at UHAS, which is the University of Health and Allied Sciences, it's a public university which is located in Ho, in the Volta region of Ghana. And it is one of the youngest public universities in Ghana. And we started operations in September 2012, when the first batch of 152 students, 54 students who were admitted. And I must say that it is the only public university which is specifically dedicated to the training of healthcare professionals in Ghana. Yeah, so when you look at our university, so we have 8 schools, and then there are also 3 institutes. So we have the School of Allied Health Sciences, where our department sits. That is the Department of Physiotherapy and Rehabilitation Sciences. Then there are other schools also in the university. We have the School of Basic and Biomedical Sciences. We have the School of Nursing and Midwifery, School of Pharmacy, School of Medicine, and then the School of Sports, and then Exercise Medicine. If we look at the 3 institutes, we have the Institute of Health Research, we have the Institute of Traditional and Alternative Medicine, ITAM, and then we have the Institute of Medical Education. Now let's look at physiotherapy education in our university. So as I mentioned, the name of our department is the Department of Physiotherapy and rehabilitation sciences. And the program that we are doing, or the program that is being run at the department for now, is a Bachelor of Physiotherapy program, so which is an undergraduate level. In Ghana, physiotherapy, the entry level for practice as a physio is the bachelor's level, so the undergraduate program. So we run the Bachelor of Physiotherapy program, and our guiding philosophy for our program is that we want to develop and train students to the highest quality in a student-centered learning environment. And we use problem-solving integrated curriculum that emphasizes community-based experiences and then community services in the community in which we operate. So our program combines teaching, research, and then service provision to be able to expose our students to achieve technical competence and also develop professional insights and then service-oriented compassion to be able to meet the expectations of a modern health delivery system. And in the near future, our department, we are hoping that we could be able to introduce programs in occupational therapy, in respiratory therapy, music therapy, and then all the other therapies. And we're also hoping to also start a postgraduate program in physiotherapy, specifically in MSc, MPhil, and then PhD programs. Yeah, so if you look at our training or the training of our students, so it is important for our students to be able to realize the growing impact of environmental degradation, which is very common in our society, pollutions, and then climate changes on the health of our patients and then the people that we see. So it's very necessary that we look at incorporating environmental physiotherapy elements into our curriculum. Now, let me just highlight some of the environmental issues that we are grappling with in Ghana. So we have environmental degradation as a result of illegal gold mining, popularly called the galamsey. And this is when our forests and then our water bodies are all destroyed. So we also have environmental pollution, where we have uncontrolled bush burning. And then we have the burning of plastic materials and then rubber materials. And then there's also the indiscriminate plastic waste littering about, and then increasing hazardous landfills. And we are also grappling with flooding. Yeah, so if you look at these concerns that I raised, so the illegal mining that is destroying our forests and water bodies. So on the picture on my left, you see water body streams, then rivers, the color of the water turning to the milky shape, the milky color, and then flooding on our street. So because we are building on water bodies, we are blocking the drains, and then we are littering plastic materials into these drains. You realize that the little water or rains that fall, you see these streets being flooded. And then you find the water coming into our home, destroying properties, and then also lives are also destroyed. Now, we are looking at potential topics that we believe can be able to look at as far as our curriculum is concerned, to be able to address these environmental issues that we are talking about, or that has been raised earlier on. So the effects of galamsey, that is the illegal mining of minerals or gold, we have these effects on the physical health of the population. Why? Because you realize that these people who mine for gold, they tend to use a lot of heavy metals in the form of mercury, in the form of lead and all that. And these are metals that are poisonous when they find their way into the human bodies. And there were news items locally that these journalists were reporting about children that are born in these areas that have a lot of deformity. So Yeah, so children born in these areas where these local mining, illegal mining are very endemic. You realize they end up with a lot of deformities and they end up in the hospital. And scientists are tracing these effects to the pollution on our water bodies and then the pollution of our forest. And then the effects of air pollution and then extreme temperatures on the population health. Yeah, so that is also something that we are grappling with. And we know we live in the temperate, so we live in the regions where we have a lot of heat throughout the year. Yeah, and the effects of these extreme temperatures is something that is worrying us. Gone were the days that you realize that you could just sleep in the house. But now, when we go into the season where the weather is very dry and hazy, it's very difficult for people to even sleep in their homes because of these extremes of temperature. And because of the destruction of water bodies, the destruction of our forests, we also have inadequate green spaces. And these green spaces are also things that prevent people from engaging in physical activity participation. Yeah, so these are also possible things that we are looking at. Then the adaptation of physical activity programs. So for vulnerable populations, people with disabilities and other chronic illnesses, if they are able to engage in physical activity programs, then that can also help to be able to reduce these conditions. But then they need a needed environment or a very good environment with greens to be able to engage in some of these physical activities. And because of climate change anxiety, climate change and extreme temperatures, it's also very difficult to be able to engage in physical activity when the weather is hot and then the temperatures are also very high and soaring. Then the effect of climate change and then the flooding because of the issues in the environment that has to do with the disposal of plastic materials and then the blocking of drains and all that. Now let's look at the strategies that we can use or we are planning to use in order to be able to educate our physiotherapists and for the society also to be concerned about some of these effects that we are grappling with as a result of the degradation of our environment and then the society. So the department was introduced to environmental physiotherapy at the last Congress in Dubai. Yeah, so we are still very new to environmental physiotherapy strategies, and we are taking the opportunity to be able to learn from other universities that have been successful in implementing some of these strategies in their curriculum. So we intend to introduce environmental physiotherapy course or module in our curriculum when there is the chance for us to review our curriculum. Yeah, so the curriculum is accepted to be run, or we have accreditation to be able to run it. So it's very difficult to be able to alter or to change things in the curriculum that has been accepted. So we are planning that if we are going for the next review, we'll try to introduce courses or modules in environmental physiotherapy. Then in the meantime, we are looking at organizing short courses and then also having partnership with other organizations, both within the university community and then outside the university community, all in an attempt to be able to advocate for environmentally sustainable practices that can help us to be able to reduce the impact of these effects on our environment. And we are also aiming to promote further research in the field of environmental physiotherapy in order for us to promote sustainable physiotherapy practices. And this research, we are looking at both students and then faculty, so staff and students going into research that will help us to be able to generate the evidence that will back some of these things that we are talking about. Then we also plan to use digital resources in a form of online platforms that will offer educational materials and then also best practices that will support the learning and then the professional development in environmental physiotherapy. Then we will also host regular webinars, workshops, and seminars to be able to educate the stakeholders, both students and the society, because this is something which is a societal issue and it's affecting all of us in Ghana. And about the associated health risks, the factors about climate change, environmental degradation, and the impact that it has on the health. Because sometimes we think or we believe that these are things that has to do with the environment. What is the connection between these things that we are talking about and health? And as I said, the pollution of our water bodies and environment with heavy metals resulting in deformities of children or babies that are born. Yeah, so it has effect on the health of the population. Then in conclusion, the incorporation of environmental physiotherapy strategies into our curriculum will be an important advancement towards making a more sustainable and a responsible approach to healthcare practices in the country. And then we also hope that we'll be able to equip the next generation of physiotherapists and then make them prepared to be able to address global health challenges with a holistic and a forward-thinking perspective about environmental health and then sustainability. All right, thank you. Yeah, so these are the contacts of the resource persons at the department who have interest in environmental physiotherapy. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cosmos. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your presentation there. We'll reserve questions and discussion for later on. I'll move on right away and pass the word to Anabela Correia Martins from Portugal, from Coimbra, to tell us a little bit about the activities there, including her two students, Beatriz and Filipa. Welcome to the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Just a second, please. Okay.
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you, especially you, Philip, to permit another moment for sharing our, I would say, very early and still ongoing progress on this topic in our school. I want to say hello to all the colleagues that are here, and especially to my very special students. They are very brave to be here awake today. And today, as I told you before, is the day after the big party. So, and it's they are really brave to be here awake at this time. Well, we don't have too much to share, but this first opportunity would be good for us, at least to learn with you and just share some of our first experiment in introducing the environmental physiotherapy into PT practice in PT education in our school. Well, as just to report and to be to be just in time, these are some pictures from yesterday, last party. And Beatriz is the one here, and Sarah and Filipa is the other one right here. Well, our school, Coimbra Health School, is one of the first national PT schools in the country. We are located in the center in Coimbra, and we are integrated in the Politécnico University of Coimbra. The knowledge climate change is a major health challenge. It's our point of starting to introduce this environmental physiotherapy into our curriculum. Because, of course, we believe and we have no doubt that physiotherapists have a crucial role in addressing climate-related health impacts. 3 years ago, we have the opportunity to include in our program, PT program, a topic or a course, and we decided that the emergent topics would be a good opportunity, at least our course is a 8-semester course, and in the beginning we have no sure about where to put this topic, and besides we think that it could be in an early moment in the course, in the program, sorry. It was not possible, and at least at the end of the program, on the 8th semester, we could introduce this emergent topic. And besides other topics, emergent topics, we in the last 2 years include the sustainable and climate resilience in this course. Because we expect that doing this at this time, students could understand better the environment effect on physical and mental health, as well as in the daily activities and our social participation. Like with the ICF show us that functioning is something that depends on the health condition as well as the contextual factors. It was the picture that all of them know since the first semester that they are in the program, but we used to talk about this just in a general vision, not in a specific, as well as we could do in this course. We haven't done a lot, as I told you. However, we tried since the last 2 years introduce some activities. Some of them, they are more structured activities. Other are just few examples or few exercises. We tend to do some adaptations in the assessment techniques, like talking with other teachers, and as well as trying to bring to our clinical reasoning with students the importance of evaluate and adjust some methods considering the environmental variables, like when we are talking about the person with conditions in like respiratory and other conditions. At the same time, some discussion about modifications of treatments and intervention plans. And for instance, as an exercise, we have a small, sorry. Okay. We tried to challenge students how to check what could be changed when they are even in some class in practicing environment. And these are some examples that we challenge them to think besides they they practice by themselves in classes or when they are going to the clinical practice. Another approach that we are doing or we are trying to implement is some educational campaigns inside our community, in our school, like some energy efficient techniques or the use of eco-friendly physiotherapy tools, using the outside space for some practical classes or just for meetings to discuss different topics. And 2 years ago, we started to study in a more concrete and a more sustainable way some research on the intersection of environmental change and physiotherapy practice, joining two main ideas that on the other side we have people, the persons living in the city, and we try to assess their ambulatory self-confidence in walking in their surroundings, in the place where they live. And at the same time, we assess them regarding the walking speed. And now we have data from a huge number of citizens from certain areas of the city, and we relate the health condition and the functional condition, especially walking speed, and their ambulatory self-efficacy. And we conclude that certain parts of the city, especially some traffic lights, ways, crossways in the street, they are not adjusted to our population. So these are some of our intentions to improve the connection between school and some political or municipality institutions, like the security policemen, police, the municipality, the city hall, and this is something that we are just starting. However, we have already some data that present to them, and it's quite new for them to at least understand this point of view that we are showing to them. More recently, and this is something that happened a few months ago, and it is the result of especially this Beatriz and Filipa were the students that are representing the students group that work on this project. We prepare these topics, ecology and sustainability in physiotherapy, and physiotherapy role in mitigating the impact on climate change on health. And we applied for the first National Congress on Health and Environmental in Lisbon, in Portugal, and they got a special acceptance for this. We were few. These were the 2 from 4 e-posters that were present on physiotherapy, because the Congress was a huge and large Congress on other professions, and the only 4 works that were developed by physiotherapists, 2 of them were from them. I would ask them, because they are here, if they want to say something about each one. Maybe, Philip, is it possible for them to participate?
It's possible,
Yeah.
but maybe we just have to keep it to about 1 minute each. We're already running over time here quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
we are almost finishing too,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
do you want to say something, Beatriz and Filipa?
Yeah. We presented 2 posters. The first one was about good environmental practices in the health sector, and the second one was about how physiotherapists can help reduce the effects of climate change on people's health.
The main goal of these posters was to put ourselves in the role of physiotherapists, even though we are still students. We want to think about what sustainable strategies we can use in our future clinic practice. This event was a great opportunity to share ideas and learn from others. It helped us understand how important it is to include the environment in our thinking as a future health professionals. We believe this is an important step for a healthier and more responsible future.
Thank you. So, some reflections on our experience. I don't know if you also want to say something.
Yeah. Yeah.
The feedback has been very positive. We students acknowledge the relevance of these topics, and faculty members have noted increased engagement and critical thinking.
Of course, there are challenges, such as changing long-standing mindsets and practice, but we have encountered a strong willingness from the academic community to embrace this evaluation.
Okay. Just almost finishing, just some future plans. We intend to expand the environmental PT into more course alongside the program, and build cross-institutional partnerships. We also have a big project, very embryonic project, but developing digital tools, including an online learning platform with EP research for PT around the country. Promote research on sustainable physiotherapy practice, because we also have in our graduation and post-graduation master the opportunity to include them, and of course collaborate with community programs to raise climate health awareness in our country. We have already some outdoor activities already that can show how physiotherapy can be involved on that, and we know that we just passed the time, and want to say thank you, obrigado, and be able to or be open to questions at the end. Okay, thank you.
Obrigado. Thank you very much. Yes, so running quite a bit over time, I'll hand the word directly over to Jonathan, who's with us currently from Japan, but originally from France.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for
very good.
Yeah. Is that okay? Can you all see my screen? Yep. Okay, fantastic. So today I prepared a presentation more about our activities, examples of what we did with the students, whether it was within their curriculum or in optional courses. Just to present our institution, we're called the IFMK, which is in the top left screen here. And also I have to mention that I'm part of OMT France, which is the Organization for Musculoskeletal Therapy, which is part of IFONT. So if I tend to speak too much of MSK, this is why. Next. Okay, so our institution, IFMK, is close to Paris. It's not in Paris, it's very close to Paris. And it is in and very close to a supermarket. So it's a very strange environment to study physical therapy. It's quite far from everywhere. So it's already a context of learning, which is also questioning our way of working together as a profession with other professionals. And it's an unusual environment for me to work in, but it's also a challenge that we live with and work with. So the strategies, Anabela has been talking closely about the same strategies. We want to bring awareness about human health and biodiversity. We want students to create some actions and some actions with their associations, also with the students' associations, that they become ecologically informed, and then also raise awareness with the educators. And what I do with them is that I teach the professional English, which is a great opportunity for me to be transversal. I'm an MSK physiotherapist. I do very little classes. I do the hip joint with them in MSK, and then I see them all the years, year 1, 2, 3, and 4. I see them for the English professional language. So this is a great opportunity for me. And I don't know if you have in your institutions language that you learn with the students, but I see this as a great chance for us to go along new subjects, new topics, and bring discussions. So I'm also involved in organizing projects, whether it's Erasmus projects or other optional projects for the students. Just this to talk about the educators. The educators, I've been asking them what they feel about this environmental physical therapy, the planetary health, and these are some words that they come up with. The main word was bringing awareness, bringing the topic forward, and the students need to be knowledgeable about this topic. Then the first activity, and one of the main activities I've been working on, is this WHO sequence. I feel that if we don't discuss with the students about disability, non-communicable diseases, social determinants of health, and self-care, so these are 4 classes of 2 hours that we have organized on the semester 1, I feel they cannot grasp the interest, or they cannot grasp the importance of talking about environmental health and planetary health. And because we tell them that taking action on health is taking action also on climate, and they're making a link quite easily, knowing that all these topics are influenced by this new knowledge of what is changing around them, for them as professional and students, but also as future professional, as citizens, sorry. So we did discussions, group words, and more details are on the website. And yeah, I told you this already, but the main thing to bring those 4 topics is to bring the notion of vulnerability and climate-sensitive health risks. So vulnerability is, I think, things that we consider naturally as physical therapists when you treat and you diagnose people with certain pathologies. We measure some risk factors and such, and we just need to add some another layer of, let's say, environmental vulnerability. And I think this closes the loop quite easily when you bring this discussion forward. When you ask them by the end of the semester what they think about health, self-care, which is how I finish the sequence, they bring on words like equality, human rights, health, quality of life, education, which are all keywords that we think of when we think of our profession, and especially when we're informed of those SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah. And then the other group would say autonomy as a profession, of course, but also as person seeking care, prevention, health, human rights again. So see, I was quite happy and relieved that by the end of the sequence, they would think of those keywords. Then, when we come up to the second year, of course, these are not the same students, but it's the second year. This is an invitation on the 4th semester to reflect on the profession. And you see, I don't know if I can zoom in. Yeah, I can. I've asked them some questions. how can changes, climate changes and social determinants of health affect health? And they had to discuss and write their answers in the book lab. Then ask them about, how can we promote this biodiversity and environment preservation? And then again, they had to think about, and this brings discussion, but also it creates a space for environmental physiotherapy. And the last question, for just the purpose of example here, why is it important to talk about what is important about the core benefits for patients, health practitioners, and biodiversity? I really focus and stress their attention on core benefits. And then, of course, we finish off with saying that alone, the health sector cannot find all the answers, and that we all need support from other industries, from other sectors of our societies. You got a teaser there. Then another activity. I hope I'm not rushing too fast, but I'd just like to share the activities that we've been doing with them. Then, of course, the second year activity, another example, was an optional project. So they thought of their environment in where they lived in Paris, and they thought that they might tell the mayor's office, and they might tell other professional collaboration groups in private practice how to promote physical activity in the very close environment of those same patients. So they created a pathway, a circuit to promote sports activities. And of course, they had to talk to people. So they went and talked to people in the streets, and they went to identify what were the barriers and what were the levers of action. And also, this was a really great opportunity for them to go outside and tell the co-citizens that they were physiotherapists, they would be physical therapists in the future, and they were questioning this very critical topic. So, again, so I just wanted to stress on that. Then another optional project that we did in year 2 was this collection of this donation of used medical equipments. And so students had to reflect on the benefits of doing such action. So it was to reduce the carbon footprint and also to increase social justice, giving access to those who cannot have access to those medical equipments. In addition to this, they've organized with their student association a green day, to make this environmental physiotherapy topic a recurrent action for their association. So hopefully this action will carry on the coming years. Then, sorry, I'm a bit fast. But then on the 4th year, another example of activity, so this is the 4th activity that we've been doing with the students, is having a discussion about direct access. And this is a very important topic for European, but also for worldwide physical therapists. What is direct access? What is limiting direct access? What are the benefits of the direct access? And this brought the topic of social determinants of health forward, because you need to talk about the health system, you need to talk about the policies, you need to talk about access to care, and all sorts of factors that increase or reduce the vulnerability of people and their resilience to events or any crisis that can happen related to climate changes. So the questions were simple, was first talking about direct access and what was organized in France, and where do we sit as physical therapists in a society. And we were really gladly surprised that our students were sitting everywhere at the table. They were thinking, well, as physical therapists, we sit everywhere at the table. And then we asked them, as citizens, where do you sit? And same happened. They would think that they belonged everywhere. So this was a very positive sign for us to see our soon or graduates to be feeling that they were sitting at the right place. Lastly, I think dissemination is a great great thing to do, whether it's with student association, which I've presented in April last month, but also with National Scientific Association. I was there with my colleague Céleste Rousseau, presenting the impacts of multiple exposition from the environment on MSK health. And this was a very interesting topic to discuss with a broad audience, both professionals and students. So to conclude this sprint, I like this picture that is present on the WHO paper to promote, to help health professionals promote climate change and climate action. And what they forgot to add on the picture were, well, students. Well, they spent 4 years studying this profession, and I think they deserve a seat at this table. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks, Jonathan. That's lovely. So unfortunately, our last speaker, she can't be here because of her kind of connectivity issues and the likes, but I have her presentation here, and I'll just share this with you for a moment here. Good if you could just give me a sort of note in the chat or something like that to see if it works, but it should.
From its rugged mountain ranges to its biodiverse coastline. Let's begin by grounding this.
Sorry.
Let's begin by grounding this presentation in Oman's broader national vision. Oman Vision 2040 is a long-term strategic framework for national development. This vision, launched in 2019, outlines how Oman aims to transition to a diversified, knowledge-based economy while emphasizing. Recently, healthcare education institutions in Oman are starting to review and update their curricula to ensure that sustainability principles remain relevant and responsive to the evolving needs of the healthcare sector and to the environment as well. This slide maps out the structure of physiotherapy program over the 4 years at Oman College of Health Sciences. At Oman College of Health Sciences, we've taken a curricula-wide approach to sustainability. We've integrated environmental themes across foundational and clinical courses. For example, Year 1 builds the foundation with anatomy, physiology, and communication skills. In Year 2, core musculoskeletal and safety concepts are introduced, and by Year 3 and Year 4, the curriculum deepens into clinical specialization, research, and applied reasoning, laying the perfect platform for environmental health integration as students transition to real-world care. Environmental concepts follow a developmental progression through the years. Students develop increasing awareness and practical skills in sustainability as they move through the program. In Year 1, we plant the seed of ecological awareness. In Year 2, students build skills to recognize and assess these influences. Year 3 invites students to apply eco-aware strategies in rehab planning. By Year 4, students are ready to critically reflect on these themes and advocate for sustainability in their clinical roles. Let's now look at how sustainability has been embedded across physiotherapy curriculum at OCHS. Rather than limiting sustainability to one standalone course, we've opted for a curriculum-wide implementation approach. Each course can serve as a natural point of integration for environmental and planetary health. For example, in physiology, students examine how environmental exposures disrupt body systems. In biomechanics, gravity effects on gait and joints. In Year 2 and 3, students engage with sustainable clinical reasoning, patient education on eco-conscious lifestyle changes. Many case studies and class reflections now include considerations of pollution or environmental equity. Teaching tools like concept maps help students visualize how environment impacts health and movement. Cardiorespiratory education includes the ecological impact on pulmonary health, showing students how clean air and green environments aid recovery. By Year 4, students are encouraged to explore real-world topics such as environmental risk factors for disability or sustainable rehabilitation strategies. This vertical and horizontal integration fosters a mindset that sustainability is an essential part of physiotherapy professionalism, not an optional concern. In addition to formal curriculum integration, we have developed several extracurricular initiatives to reinforce the principle of environmental sustainability among physiotherapy students. These initiatives serve two main purposes. First, they help bridge the gap between theory and practice. Second, they foster a sense of social responsibility and environmental stewardship. Beyond curriculum, we foster a campus-wide sustainability ethos. We have proposed a dedicated environmental and sustainability committee, which is under development. We've also designed eco-friendly educational materials and used the ones from APA resources to promote daily environmental awareness across academic and clinical spaces. These resources are intended to shape a professional culture that views environmental responsibility as integral to ethical physiotherapy practice. In 2024, our students and staff participated in the Silver Steps event, a community initiative promoting physical activity among elderly while raising environmental awareness. This event aligned strongly with both Oman Vision 2040 and the WHO Charter for Wellbeing, demonstrating how physiotherapy can actively contribute to national health and sustainability agenda. Now, let's talk about possibilities. To embed sustainability in healthcare education, we must look forward and empower students as future change agents. There are several promising opportunities to integrate environmental thinking more deeply into physiotherapy education. One such opportunity is the creation of student-led sustainability clubs, where students take the lead in designing and promoting eco-health initiatives. We also envision sustainable virtual learning environments that reduce paper use, lower energy demands, and model responsible digital education. Students can be supported by research related to climate resilient rehabilitation, green physiotherapy technologies, and the ecological impact of clinical care. They can also lead awareness campaigns, organizing events that highlight the links between environmental change and health. Sustainability competitions and innovation challenges can further inspire creative solutions for green practice and healthcare delivery. Technology plays a central role. AI tools can offer personalized adaptive learning and stimulate eco-friendly clinical decisions. For example, virtual patient scenarios can model the impact of climate change on chronic disease and teach sustainable treatment choices. All of these are examples, not of what we have already done, but of what we could achieve if we commit to making sustainability a central pillar of physiotherapy education. This is a call to action. We must evolve our curricula, embed eco-health as a graduate outcome, and foster student leadership to build a more sustainable and impactful healthcare future. Of course, the journey hasn't been without its challenges. Students are eager. Case studies now include environmental factors, but faculty need training to teach these concepts effectively. We face curriculum constraints, limited training on environmental health among faculty, and the need for interprofessional collaboration. There's also the issue of sustainability being perceived as a secondary to clinical competence. We are actively exploring solutions, from enhancing faculty development opportunities to aligning with national education strategies and seeking international partnership. While we haven't solved everything yet, we are working to build a culture where environmental responsibility is seen as a core component of ethical, evidence-based physiotherapy practice. In conclusion, environmental physiotherapy is not a global necessity. It is also a local responsibility. At OCHS, we've taken meaningful steps by aligning our curriculum, student engagement, and outreach with the national priorities of Oman Vision 2040. But we recognize that sustainability is a continuous journey, not one-step achievement. This is a roadmap, not a wish list. Health cannot thrive on a sick planet. If we treat patients without addressing the health of the planet, we risk failing both. Therefore, ongoing efforts, stronger interdisciplinary collaboration, and a commitment to innovation will be essential in shaping the future of environmental physiotherapy education in Oman and around the world. Thank you.
Okay, Sorry, there was a little bit of a hiccup along the way there in the beginning, but I hope the rest of the presentation came through somewhat. Okay, it leaves us with relatively little time. I mean, we can hang out a little bit beyond time here, given that we're just a small group of people at the moment. I just want to highlight that there's written up inspirational case reports. I've put them in the chat here for you, but on the EPT, on the Environmental Physiotherapy Association website, we've collated well over 50 inspirational case reports from schools all around the world that are telling exactly the stories of the kind we've heard today about different things that people are trying in their respective locations. And this have been a few really great examples. I really appreciate all the shares. So I just want to open the floor very briefly. If there are any questions or comments, just from people that are here now, we can, spend a minute or 2 or 5 on those, if there are. Something I think that just for myself, that came through very strongly is somehow how environmental physiotherapy seems to really sort of lend itself to integrating physiotherapists and kind of like pushing what we understand in physiotherapy practice by way of getting involved in our kind of communities locally and shaping cities, shaping communities, getting in touch with municipalities, etc., etc. I feel like that came through quite a few of your presentations now. Yeah, I don't really have a question to that, but Jonathan, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if some of you have seen the series, the MSK series on rehabilitation from the WHO. And this, I think it's in the video number 3, that one of the researchers says that we treat with the evidence, we treat low back pain only 30% of the people. I mean, it's proved or measured that evidence is only treating, so evidence meaning treatments and techniques or whatever approach, we're only managing with evidence 30% of the population over the 1.7 billion people that are affected by this problem with evidence. So something else needs to be, taken into account. And I've written to this statistician, this researcher, and unfortunately I didn't have any reply. But I think I'll give him a little message soon to ask what ideas he has about what needs to be done or researched, or because this cannot be, if it's only about access to care, if it's only about policies, then we have something to do about it. But if it's about knowing better what are the risk factors or the vulnerabilities of some populations, well, this is a huge issue to tackle. So if we send numerous emails to this person, he might answer to us. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm inclined to think that it's kind of, that some of the answer is going to lie in exactly some of what all of you touched on now, which is that, it's one thing to, we already, I think, know that actually treating people kind of at an individual level has very limited kind of effect if we look at it at the kind of population level size, right? And even on individual level to some extent. And so that's why I think like really sort of like this kind of the increased environmental awareness that comes through teaching and engaging in these activities leads us towards, the kind of this notion of shaping the environments that people live in as a kind of tool to, potentially sort of reach much more people with what we're doing. Yeah, so really nice to see how all of you are doing that in different ways. But yeah, we can keep the floor open for another minute if there are any other comments or questions. I was really interested, Anabela, in your presentation to hear that you were kind of also looking at traffic lights and noticing how traffic lights are not adjusted to some of your population. Can you just say very briefly what you mean by that? Is it the duration of how long the traffic light is green? Is that what it is, or is it something else?
Yeah, actually, it depends on the place, but we measure the time that the traffic lights are open to people, and the break between being green and red for the cars, and about 60% of our traffic lights crossways were not adjusted for the mean, the average of gate speed or walking speed. Yeah,
it's
and
really fascinating.
it depends from the white. There are a lot of there are different kind of measures, and that makes difference from place to place. But could be the time, the time per white. We start to have some conversations with the municipal, the city hall, municipality, and the security police, because they don't have an idea about that.
Yeah.
They just realize and get data when people have an accident, and but it keeps all the time the same. So
I think it's really fascinating because, you know, to me, and just so this is kind of to me the point, and also it came through in your presentations, is that what environmental physiotherapy makes possible, you know, and the ways it makes it possible to think in broader ways than we maybe have as a profession so far. It's everything from like small changes in, you know, how we practice and what we do in our clinical practice and what equipment we use, that kind of stuff, to, you know, things like this, you know, like looking at traffic lights and are they adjusted to gate speed and so forth, which, you know, normally you just kind of wouldn't necessarily think about. But clearly, you know, once you start thinking about it, it becomes so logical, like you just described, Anabela, that I think it's just fascinating. And so it just sort of like paves this pathway for future involvement, you know, research and practice for physiotherapists in totally new areas that nonetheless make complete sense from a health perspective and a physio perspective. So
and these are also highlight the importance of the walking speed, and ambulatory confidence, self-confidence,
so
as
it goes both ways.
main indicators of our results as physiotherapists.
Yeah, really interesting. Aki, yeah, you put your hand up.
Yeah, I just want, I think it's common for all of the presentations today. Really thank you. I was kind of starting to think of how we've swifted in physiotherapy education from the term multidisciplinary, because here in the Nordics, we're always talking about multidisciplinary, about, you know, working with nurses, doctors, but now actually we are shifting towards working with environmental scientists. We're kind of shifting with working with engineers, because our expertise is also needed for green space planning, what Cosmos was also in his presentation pointing out. So I think this is something that we still don't, in physiotherapy educators, we also kind of need to expand our knowledge about what we're actually talking about when we're talking about multidisciplinary. It's kind of shifting, I think. Sun is blocking my
looks very good. But I totally agree. I think it's not just shifting, it's really sort of like, it's really broadening it in a way that, you know, just we haven't really considered before. I think it used to just be sort of like a notion of we need to work with other people in healthcare, but actually a lot of this is indicating we need to work much more broadly across disciplines and sectors, et cetera, in really exciting ways. And so yeah, I think it's painting a really kind of interesting future there. I'm going to close off the meeting here because we've gone over time a little bit already. I really thank you for the presentations today. All sorts of different time zones here, and we'll put these online and on YouTube and on the website alongside our, as I said, quite many different inspirational case reports, and hopefully get a few more colleagues around the world to speak and talk in this kind of direction. So thanks for today's meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.